Mr. Chairman, just a statement, just to follow up with what Commissioner Pierce said and Commissioner Lockley said. You remember many years ago we belonged to Opportunity Florida, and that was one of the reasons why we pulled out of Opportunity Florida was we did not get any benefits from it. We signed MOUs, MOAs, and everything else because we were one of the 8 counties, but we never could see the actual benefit to our county. This, I think, will show us benefits to our county in one way or the other, like you said, in the training, in the jobs, or whatever. So this is not for like tomorrow. And I would like to see, and I know there will be in the future, something done, a study done to look at what other jobs or what other industry we can bring in here while we're waiting on this port, airport, railroad stuff, to bring other jobs in here to help take the pressure off the bay, because that is the ultimate thing. This is a fishing industry. It always has been, and it always will be, but we need to take some of that pressure off of it. We need to be really seriously looking at other opportunities that we have to bring other job creations into play here.
Compatible with our environment. Item number 3, what you just referred to, Commissioner, informed the board that Allen also attended a meeting in Panama City on the 29th to participate in a discussion hosted by Florida's Great Northwest about the $300,000 study that the University of West Florida and FGN received from the U.S. Department of HUD to explore what it would take for the Florida Panhandle to experience regional economic transformation. While Franklin County is not a member of FGN, the study that FGN is co-leading will cover the Panhandle, including Franklin and Wakulla counties. FGN Executive Director Ms. Kim Wilkins said that she hopes one of the outcomes of the study will be to identify projects, ideas that could also be submitted to Triumph for funding. Approximately 75 people attended the meeting as FGN is trying to build support for this study. The initial briefing presented by HAAS Center at UWF shows that the dominant industry in the region is tourism, hospitality, followed by wood products. These 2 industries still have growth potential. Franklin County has a large workforce in the fishing and fishing products industry, but that industry does not show much growth potential. Food for thought. If Franklin County is to participate in any regional economic transformation, the county will need to develop opportunities outside of the fishing industry for the county workforce. Ms. Wilkins said the full regional study will be completed by January of 2017. Again, I go back to the training of getting us ready for other jobs that might come into the statements. Item number 4, provide the board with a copy of a letter Allen signed in order to comply with the FEMA requirement for maintaining insurance coverage on county-owned facilities. The Federal Office of Inspector General performed an audit of FEMA and the local governments who received FEMA reimbursements following the 2004-2005 hurricane seasons. The OIG concluded that some 1,100 local governments around the county improperly received FEMA payments for damages that should have been covered by property insurance. The OIG is recommending to FEMA that some of the $178 million of reimbursements to local governments may have to be returned. Franklin County is not one of the counties subject to returning any funds, but the county is required to sign a letter from FEMA acknowledging that the county will maintain property insurance. The letter Allen signed is a form letter sent by FEMA to all the 1,100 local governments involved in the 2004-2005 hurricane season. Allen discussed the letter with Ms. Erin Griffith from the Finance Office, and she concurred that the county does maintain the property insurance coverage for county facilities. But the important thing is that we are not one of the counties, and the letter is attached to your packet, and a copy of the email. And that's pretty much it. Fallon's report, Commissioners.
Go right into yours.
All right, this is pretty quick today. Informed the board that during Hurricane Hermine, Duke Energy main staging area for the surrounding counties was Franklin County. This meant that Duke had at least 300 men and the necessary support equipment in this county. Different areas throughout the county was used for staging, such as the Armory, Kendrick Park, and other locations throughout Apalachicola and Carabel. Based on reports I received, with the exception of some areas throughout the county, power remained on during the hurricane. Want to let you know how much men they actually had here. A lot of them were actually in the restaurants eating too, believe it or not. And we got a lot of equipment here. Never seen so much equipment from Duke before. Item 2, board action to approve the route for the upcoming homecoming parade. The parade is scheduled for September 23rd, 2016. The parade will follow the normal route as it has in the past on Highway 98 from North Bay Shore to 2nd Street in East Point. The road closure will be from 12:15 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. on that date.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Item number 3, inform the board that FDOT has sent the chairman an invitation to attend a public hearing as their 2017-2018 to 2021, mistype there, 2022 tentative work program for District 3 Northwest Florida counties is presented. The public hearing will be on November 21st, 2016, and will be broadcast live to their Midway, Milton, and Panama City locations. Now, it's an invitation, but a lot of times, Clay, you guys know what's going on with this anyway, right? So Preble Rich / Dewberry usually will report that to the board. So there's no need for anyone to attend unless you really, really wanted to go. Item number 4, the board was scheduled to open bids for the Carabel and St. George Island bathroom renovation projects today. However, because the courthouse was closed on Friday due to the Hurricane Hermine, the contractors were not able to turn in their bids. Both the bid submission deadline and the bid openings have been rescheduled to September 16th and September 20th respectively. Mr. Doug Schuler and I expect bids from at least 4 to 5 firms. So I think we'll have pretty competitive bids for this project. And we'll open the bids at the next meeting. And finally, inform the board that Mr. Jim Oskowitz, who's DEP's NERDA project manager, met with Commissioner Parrish, Mr. Currington, and myself to update us on some of the county projects. Based on the conversation, Mr. Oskowitz thinks that the new restroom facility projects, one on the East Point side of the fishing pier and the other on the St. George Island side of the fishing pier, should be entering into the bidding phase within the next few months. We also discussed the timing for the Indian Creek Boat Ramp Improvement Project as to minimize the inconvenience to anyone that uses that location, especially crabbers. Mr. Oskowitz presented Commissioner Parrish with a 90% complete final design draft of the Maritime Museum, which will be located at Lombardi's Park. Commissioner Parrish requested a few changes, but was pleased with the overall design, I hope. As advertising and bid selection dates are set for the projects, I will inform the board. Commissioner, you wanted to touch anything more on the museum project?
I think it's going to be exactly what we plan to do when we purchase Lombardi's out there with the Maritime Heritage Display. Real quickly, the building out back that used to serve as a cooler, big concrete, that's going to be completely tore down. The concrete and all will be removed. And there'll be another pavilion built there so that people will be able to observe the boats unloading or observe the sunsets out there. It's going to be a really nice facility. I spoke with Mr. Rostad about this probably a year and a half ago, of obtaining some of the stuff that we've done for the TDC, some of the filming. And we'd like to have the films out there so when the tourists come in, they can see how to crab, what we do when we shrimp, what commercial guide fishermen do, how to oyster, and also bring some of the history of these different fisheries over the years that the tourists will not be made aware of. So it's going to be a really good project. When it gets going, I don't know. But it's going to be complete with security cameras.
Yeah.
There'll be several display kiosks in there where they can go in and view these videos independently. If they're interested in oysters, they can sit down at one display and hit the button and go in and see how people oyster, how they're processed, the whole 9 yards. If they're interested in crabbing, they can go to another display and be watching the crabbing segment at the same time somebody's watching an oyster segment. So it's going to be really nice. It's what we plan to do when we acquire this property. And it's something we need to do to comply with some of the other grants and stuff we've got from the state and making this plan work as a Maritime Heritage Display. And it's taken us a while to get to this point. It's $120,000 over budget, but they did come up with the money for that. There's a few little things that the county will have to purchase, such as the security cameras, but all the plug-ins, all the electrical, all that's going to be wired for all that. All we got to do is put the cameras up and plug them in. So it's going to be really nice. It's going to be good for the community and the visitors as well. It's gonna be an asset to the community, and I'm looking forward to making this dream that we've had over the last 9 years since we bought Lombard is a reality. And I think that's one thing the clerk has always pushed us on, is finishing that thing up and being in compliance with everything. And we're moving forward to do that. It's taken a while, progress takes time. And they also say good things come to those who wait. I think the community's gonna be really pleased when it's all said and done, and it's gonna be an asset to this community.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited and waiting on that. I'm glad to see that we're moving forward on our fishing piers on both ends of the bridge over there, getting that done. Real quickly, at one time I thought we were gonna have actual power run to the boat ramp over on the island. There where these restrooms are gonna be built and all. Right now there's solar lights there and they half function and half don't function. At one time we talked about extending some power poles, if I remember correctly, when Ms. Jackal was a commissioner here, and having actual electrical current there. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah.
Do you remember that, Mike?
Yes, sir, and I will tell you, I think that was even before Duke's time. That was, I want to believe that the estimate we get was like, that was outrageous to run power, because it was just too far in the way they would have to do it. It was expensive. So that's why Mr. Oskowitz talked about solar.
Okay.
But a better, well, let me not speak to what was there before, but a good quality solar system that's going to be included in both of the bathrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and somebody that can maintain them.
Yes.
We need to put up a system that we can have local people maintain it.
Yes.
Rather than calling somebody from Georgia or Alabama to come down and
To
fix
service
these
it,
lights.
yes.
So
Yeah.
all that needs to be considered. But other than that, I think we're moving forward on a lot of these projects, and I'm glad to see them when they come to fruition and getting the stuff done.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Mr.
be
Chairman, I
really-
had a question too. What
Yes,
other
sir.
projects do we have in NERDA? That's what this is from, right?
Yes, that's the two bathrooms at the end of the fishing pier. Like I discussed, the bridge, the boat ramp at Indian Creek, the Maritime Museum down Lombardi's, and I think there was some repair to the revetment wall on St. George Island side of where that boat ramp is, if I'm not mistaken. That's the ones I'm aware of, unless there are more than that. I'm not sure. I'll double check for you, Commissioner, I'll let you know. But I
Good to
think
know,
that's
'cause
the
we're getting some
ones.
good projects from there.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
actually, that funding that we used to buy Ellis Court over there, that we using NERDA funding. NERDA funding, we bought Ellis Court over on the east side of Carabel there.
Sure.
That's another NERDA project. NERDA's put a lot of money in the bay and shelling.
Yeah.
And, I was actually wondering if there wasn't some monies available to help us with this extension office down here through NERDA, with the lab and all going in.
Yeah.
Which ties to the bay. And if there might be a possibility of getting some funds through NERDA to help facilitate along with the $250,000 we got from the legislature last year. It seems like they have quite a bit of money that they're allocating to a lot of different projects. Michael, and I didn't go to the meeting when Eric and them discussed all this, but I've been thinking they may could access a few dollars out of NERDA and put a financing package together to make this dream a reality down here at the extension office building that they were wanting. They're buying property, they're doing all these different things through NERDA, which, quote, wasn't actually a NERDA project, but the state was also allocated NERDA monies that they're now reallocating for conservation measures and stuff like that. So that might be another avenue that Eric and the university could go to see if there might be some additional funding through the NERDA process in trying to help us get this building moving forward.
Yeah, I just made a note of that. I'll let Eric know.
We got some great projects though from NERDA.
Yeah, we sure
We
do.
really have, and that was all done during the early restoration phase. And as I was doing all this for the county back during the oil spill, I complimented BP for doing the early restoration. It's a very complicated process because they wanted, credits and all this other stuff. But, they could have waited until the lawsuit was settled and then started doing these environmental restoration projects, but they didn't. They put money up. Each state got $100 million to start moving forward on environmental restoration before the federal government and BP got through their lawsuit. So I actually applauded them for allowing us to move forward on some of this stuff. Stuff they were obviously going to have to do anyway, but they didn't have to do it early the way they did. So, I applaud them for that, and it allowed us to start moving forward rather than later.
Very proactive. Sure did help us. And that's it for me, Commissioner. Don't forget, 2 o'clock, we have the workshop with,
3 o'clock,
2.
2
2
o'clock.
Sorry, 2 o'clock with the, don't do that.
I'm keeping him straight. I know
Yeah,
what
with the
time it is.
Weeds Governing Board of Directors.
2 and 5:15.
And to let you know that Mike did have a report, there is a report, but he'll present it at that time, rather than having to come twice today. He'll present his report, and John has a financial report. I sent you a link to that he'll present at the workshop.
Okay.
And then, like the clerk reminded you guys, then you come back again at 5:15 to do the, I know, Commissioner, I'm just working you overtime today, 5:15 for your budget, first budget publication.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes, sir.
when do we actually get with Dewberry on this multi-year implementation plan?
Next meeting.
Next
The next meeting in the
meeting?
afternoon. I don't know what time.
During the meeting?
No.
In the afternoon?
Tomorrow afternoon, yes.
Okay, because it's, it's gonna be some.
1:30?
Yeah, 1:30, the deputy clerk told me, so yeah, I got you guys working this month here.
We got a meeting tomorrow?
No, not tomorrow, next, on the 20th,
Oh.
you have a meeting that afternoon also
Oh,
with
okay.
Newberry.
Okay, is that all you got?
Yep,
All
let's
right.
see for anything else.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes, sir. Just one action item. The city of Carabel has sent me a letter requesting your position on the city's desire to dissolve the Carabel Port and Airport Authority. That dissolution has to take place by an act of the legislature. The legislative delegation has drafted the bill, but the legislative delegation also wants to make sure that all the local elected officials have no objection to the dissolution. My recommendation is, since the city of Carabel has requested to dissolve their own district, that the board have no opposition to that desire, but
So
that's
moved.
entirely up to the board.
Have a motion second on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
One question on that issue, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Michael, does the city realize that regaining this designation will be a lot, if they ever plan to in the future, regaining this designation, it's not gonna be an easy road.
I did not inquire into the reasons beyond what he states in his letter, which is for these special districts that are inactive, the state
It's inactive,
has imposed additional reporting requirements that are expensive to the city. They do not desire to incur that risk for a district that they formed in 1986 by act of the legislature, but apparently this never had a member appointed. They've never done anything actively with the district. It's just laying fallow. So they want to get rid of that reporting requirement, and they can only do that through an act of the legislature.
And there's a lot of these districts out there that the legislature's been trying to get rid of, or governor or whoever.
Yes.
And once you allow it to be abolished, you're probably not gonna get it back.
Under the current law, you cannot create any new independent special districts. You can only create a new dependent district, which means it would be dependent, in this case, from the city of Carabel.
Yeah, that's just, I guess they're aware of that.
I
But I don't have no problem if that's what the municipality wants to do, but I just know
Yeah.
it's gonna be, if they ever wanted to do something.
They called me a few months ago, some of the people at the city of Carabel called me a few months ago and asked me if I knew anything about it. And I told them I had thought that was inactive for many years. When you search they have a state website that you can go and search those things. I mean, it said inactive on it. So, I mean, for years it's been inactive. So.
And I will give a copy of this letter and the draft bill for the clerk's records. And then also for the record, this is a copy of the letter I delivered on your behalf to Property Pilot. This is the letter that you authorized at the last meeting, terminating the contract that Planning and Zoning had for the software. And I have nothing further for the board.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I got a question for,
Yes, sir.
for
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Sheeler. Mr. Sheeler, Mr. Sheeler, are we progressing on with that bungalows
We are.
situation?
We are.
And you will have a recommendation by the 20th?
Oh, absolutely. The phone conference that I had scheduled last Wednesday with Mr. Theriak was actually going to be our final phone conference to get everything worked out. It had to be canceled because of the storm. And I'm going to get with him this week and try and reschedule. And then once that's finalized, I'll be in touch with the attorney for the bungalows.
Okay, would it be very prudent to have Mr. Theriak here the day that we take this action?
Yes, ma'am.
For him to
Unless the board
explain
has
how
any-
you got there?
Yes, ma'am. My intention was to have Mr. Theriak here as long as that's okay with the board.
Would you like for me to do a motion to authorize his
Yes, ma'am.
appearance before the board on September 20th?
Yes, ma'am.
I so move that to have David Theriak as attorney on, as consulting attorney with with Attorney Sheeler, and have him here on the 20th of September underneath the bungalows by the bay situation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I had a question too. We'll have the settlement before that time to review.
Yes, you'll have something in advance as far as what the attorneys are recommending to the board.
Okay.
Any commissioner comments? Any public comments? Yes, sir.
Darren Turner. We went the other day to get permit because my daughter's wanting to build a tiny house. And she can't build a tiny house because they say it's got to be over 500 square feet. And she wants to build one that's 300 square feet. I don't see why she's not allowed to build it, because that's the new thing for everybody that's single. All it's doing is just saving them money. But they say they can't build it because it's not 500 square feet.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know.
This is news to me as well.
What you talking about, Mr. Turner? Who'd she see?
We went to planning and zoning and some people in the courthouse. I think it was the clerk of the courts or wherever you get your permits and all that to build a house.
Yeah, next door.
Next door.
They said we could not build it because it's not 500 square feet.
I think
Building a house?
He wants to build a house.
Build a tiny house.
Below the county's requirement, the size of square footage.
We got 1,000 foot.
1,000 square
It's
feet, not
1,000 square
500.
feet
Yeah.
minimum.
We got 1,000 foot requirement.
And the one, those tiny houses, I don't know if you guys have seen them on television, that, they call them a tiny house. It's a really small house, but it's below the county's minimum size that we allow to issue a permit. And is that your complaint, sir?
Right.
That's.
The way we look at it, a house is a house. It don't matter if it's 300 square feet or 1,000 square feet. As long as it's on a cement slab, what's the difference?
Well, unfortunately, the board's hands are tied because of the ordinances that are in place don't allow them being the staff of planning and zoning, to issue a building permit for any house that's in violation of the code. So they can't issue the permit for anything less than, in your case, 1,000 square feet heated and cooled for a residential home. There are different standards, like for, I believe it's 450 feet, Mike, for a mobile home or something like that.
Yes.
But as far as residential construction, it's been 1,000 square feet minimum for 30-plus years.
Okay, so what you're saying is if anybody that wants to build a tiny house or anything 500 square feet to live in, they can't do it.
That's correct. It's not allowed by the county.
Anywhere in the county.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, the second thing I had for you is the state has been putting up millions of dollars putting in the shelling program. I think the county needs to implement a 1/2 cent sales tax on their sale for the shelling program for the days the bay's closed. That way people can get a paycheck. Because everybody now is just sitting at home, not making a paycheck, not doing nothing. A 1/2 cent sales tax, everybody that's got an oyster license would be able to at least get one load and make a grocery bill that week. That's just something for y'all to kick around, see if it's what you want to do. You can put it into a fund, and when the bay's closed, you can open it up and let the people at least make a grocery bill or something. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's just something to think on. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any more comments? About public comments?
I'd like a question for Mr. Schuler.
Yes, sir.
I know this tiny house issue has popped up on the island and it was addressed. Do you know what other counties are doing about, because most counties have restrictions of 1,000 square feet, and I know that the tiny houses, sometimes they're like mobile or something.
Correct. I don't know what other counties are doing. I've read articles basically from around the country where communities are struggling with how to, regulate and somehow allow or just make the decision not to allow the construction of tiny houses. Because on the flip side of that is, the reason you have your code of ordinances set up the way that you do now is because you want to encourage the development of your tax base so that you then can raise the taxes to provide the services that the people demand in your community. And if you're not going to get as much demand or development of the tax base with these mobile units, because the property appraiser looks at a piece of land with a mobile unit as if it's vacant land and not improved land. And as you all know, one is taxed at a higher rate than the other. So it's just a choice of how to raise the money so that you can provide the services that the public demands from you. But I'll be happy to do some more research into it and maybe put out a request for aid from the Florida Association of Counties, see how other counties are dealing with it.
And I think there might be some requirements with FEMA too. They have to be very, built a high wind
Yeah, see,
standard.
we have to check with how it affects our CRS, our rating.
Yeah, Amy would have to
system,
weigh in on that. That's
flooding,
outside my
flood.
wheelhouse.
So there's a lot to that.
Well, this is not the first time that it's come up. It's worth looking into. It's not just happening here.
Sure. If that's the desire of the board and commissioner, I will look into it.
I see a bunch of them things on TV, and I was wondering how they were working.
They got them up in North Carolina.
Yeah, they cute.
Yeah, they pretty little houses. They got them all along the banks of North Carolina.
It's very attractive and less expensive
But
to
I
build.
don't, I just don't know how they, what the deal is on.
Have to find a law, how the law is.
Yeah.
Any more public comments? Meeting adjourned.
See you at 2:00, Commissioner.
When?
So we've got